What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Scythe, and today we're going to be taking a look at Stellar Overload. How y'all doing today, folks? Hope you're doing fantastic and wonderful. Hope this video makes your day even better. This is a fantastic voxel game, one of the best ones that I've ever played. Like, seriously, there are so many different reasons why that we will get into in a minute. When we choose a new game, we can choose story mode, but we're going to focus today's video on creative mode so that I can kind of run you through the different game mechanics and stuff like that, and save story mode for a Let's Play series that I'm going to be starting shortly. But before we get started, we'd very much appreciate if you would hit that like button. Helps me out more than you know, and let's get into the game. So let's just start a universe called Default, and you can choose the universe seed, which is going to be random, of course. Flat world, yes or no. Multiplayer, yes or no. And when you do choose multiplayer, you can actually choose to play locally with Steam friends or just public. Now that's really, really cool. And the players, as far as I know, go up to 6. Don't know if they're gonna end up upping that number cap anytime in the future though. When you start a new world, you get to choose your character, which doesn't really have that much customization. You just get to be a boy or a girl and choose your gear color, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Ah, what a beautiful game. Now, of course, we have our settings so that things kind of pop in as we get closer to them, you know, because it's going to be easier on your computer, right? There are so many different game mechanics going on in this game that I hope we're going to be able to cover them all. But first and foremost, I do want to say that in story mode, it's actually very different than creative mode, because in story mode, you're actually going to start in a town, go through a bunch of, like, there's a main quest line, and there's random generated dungeons and villages out in the world and stuff like that. But for this creative mode, it's just for messing around. So we've got our digging gauntlet right here, right? And you can see that we're digging quite a big hole right here. If we hold shift and start using our mouse wheel, we can actually bring that all the way down to 1 voxel. This right here is actually the starting gauntlet in the normal game mode. So of course, when you're in creative, you just have access to the entire, like, the highest level of the glove, right? And you can kind of see with the little outlines, hopefully you can see it, that this is kind of like the biggest voxel, let's say, and it consists of that many mini voxels, you know, so we can either dig like a whole a big piece, half of a half of one right here. You can kind of see we're in the middle zone as opposed to the big full zone and stuff like that. We also have a jetpack that you can mess around with, and there's so many different mechanics that are just great. And one of them, like, we've got our tools right here. We'll talk about the building in a little bit, because first I want to show you this. So this is kind of like a vehicle block. Place this sucker down, it floats up into the air for the convenience of building, and then you can build anything that you want on this thing. Like, we can let me see if I can grab myself some blocks here, right? Most of these are just boss enemies and stuff. Let's take this blue metal, all right? So we can take this blue metal and we can start building on top of this. Anything that we want, really. It doesn't really matter, you know? So let's just build a whole circle all the way around. And then we end up placing a cockpit on it, which is this little motorcycle thing. And this is where things get cool, because lastly, we're gonna put on a thruster onto the back, right? And now this is actually a functional vehicle where we can actually get on top of it and just fly around with it, you know, like, that's so cool. And the thing that's so neat about it, which you may have caught it, you may have not, is the fact that we could put this cockpit anywhere we want. So we could construct like a huge giant tanker or a house or something like that, and then just throw the seat inside, and it's gonna operate, like, all the vehicles are gonna operate the exact same. But the fact of the matter is that you can customize a vehicle. How cool is that? Now, let's get into a little bit more of the building here, because I didn't really show it right there. I kind of was building 1 block at a time. You can actually build more than 1 block at a time, okay? So you can click and drag out, whether it's horizontal or vertical. You know, say we want to build a wall, we just build something quick and easy like that. And then you can always end up right-clicking to just delete 1 block at a time. So that can end up being very useful, not to mention you can right-click and drag as well to delete lots of the blocks, all right? And then if you want to end up changing the shape, all you got to do is hold Alt and start using the mouse wheel. So we've got slanted blocks, we've got upside down, like corner slant blocks, which you can flip them all around and everything like that. Other angled slant blocks, just triangles in general, and just all sorts of like crazy different shapes and stuff on top of just the normal cube, right? And the thing that is so cool about this game is, I mean, first of all, I guess before we talk about the very cool feature that I love about the building is that R rotates the block in that axis, T rotates the other axis, and Y rotates the other axis, right? So there's 3 different axes that you can end up rotating the block on. And the thing that's really cool about this game, and this is where I think that these devs are absolutely fantastic, is because they've managed to make a very complex system very approachable and very noob-friendly, right? So if we're trying to build a slanted staircase, normally you would have to do something like this, right? We would have to be slowly, just, okay, one at a time, blah, blah, blah. It would take a very long time, be very, very tedious. Or you can click and drag, and the game knows we want to build something slanted. So all it's going to let us do is choose the width and the length of the staircase that we want to build. And let's just say, for example, you can kind of see, like, so there's our staircase. It ended up going into the ground as well. And it operates fine, you know, we can actually climb on it and stuff like that. And then, oh, we want to add more to it? No problem. You can just add on top of it and don't worry about it. But let's just say that we don't want this slant underneath, right? So hopefully you're going to be able to see this, because I know it's getting a little bit dark in game. But if we actually get the slanted blocks right here and then press N, we're going to change it so that now there's just nothing underneath the stairs. Now there's just a full solid block, and then the slanted blocks. And this actually applies to all of the different sizes and different types of blocks. So this one's kind of a sideways angled one, right? So it's going to build out sideways. Like, how cool is that they actually ended up constructing the system so that you can build these insanely complex structures so easily. Like, even if we end up, let's see if we can flip this upside down and then start dragging it down. So you can end up making some very cool structures very quickly, very easy. And then on top of that, like, here's the thing, folks, is the construction in this game is only on par, like the only other voxel game that even comes on par with this is Minecraft with mods like World Edit and stuff like that, right? So without World Edit or using any mods or anything like that, I would say that this game is the best voxel building game out there, like seriously. So the other thing too, stop it, you crazy cat. Sorry, my cat's distracting me because he's rolling all over the place, as you can plainly see, entangling himself with my headphone wires. What's wrong with you, you crazy animal? So if we end up pressing home, we have an undo button. And if we press end, we have a redo button. So you want to get rid of the entire building? There we go. We got it all out of the way. Everything that we ended up constructing, including our vehicle, all the way since the dawn of time, right? Or we could redo it all the way back into where it was. Like, how cool is that? That is absolutely insane as far as a building mechanic is concerned. And I don't really know how to use it. I think that's this one. Yeah, I don't really know how to use this just yet, folks. So I'm just going to kind of explain the features of it while not exactly showing you how to use it. I'm sorry to say, this is a copying tool. Now, you can already see, like, I know that you builders out there are already just as giddy as I was when I saw all of this stuff, because we can end up copying any type of structure that you build and saving it into the tool so that you can make your own presets. So people that are crazy into map building and really know what they're doing, they might make, okay, here's one wall. Okay, here's the same wall with a window in it, and mix and match the different objects and different roofs and different mechanics and stuff like that, so that you can end up constructing a house very easily that looks different than another house, you know? So very cool that you could end up doing stuff like that. And then also, the fact of the matter is that you could save the entire prop in general. So let's say you got a house that you end up building and you're very proud of it. You can save that so that you can move it anywhere you want, rather than having to constantly reconstruct all of the stuff that you've ever built in new places over and over again, right? And then it doesn't stop there. This is a replacing tool. So what it's going to do default is we don't have anything selected. So it's going to take a huge chunk of all of the connected grass blocks that are right here, right? And it's going to only take like a certain area of. It's not going to take the entire world all at once. It's just totally destroying it, right? So if we actually go into our inventory and grab this blue metal right here and select that as an ammunition for the tool. Oh, maybe it doesn't let us choose that one. There, we can choose this one instead. Maybe it's because I had it as a slanted block, I wonder. But either way, we've got cog blue metal. So the replacement tool is going to replace anything that you click with that cog tool metal that we ended up just choosing. So you can easily have a house, like, let's just say we built this house out of all these blocks, and we don't like the way that looks, you know, it's not the right color. Swap it all out for a darker color, why don't you? Don't worry about it. And let's just say that you're trying to, like, let's say we want to just change the colors on this side. Okay, simple enough. Let's just select our gauntlet right here, get these blocks out of the way, and make it so that all of these aren't connecting to one another. There we go. Then swap over to our tool again, and bloop, we would change just this structure, and then we could just reconnect them ourselves. So you could change the color of your roofs and stuff like that. Again, you could copy and paste 5 different houses that look the same and easily change them up just enough that they end up looking different from one another. Now we'll talk about some of the different tools that actually come into play in the main game. So this is a block launcher. You can end up putting any type of ammo that you want in it. And by the way, the reason that we weren't able to put the other block onto the other tool that we were using 2 seconds ago, the replacement tool, is because for some reason we couldn't drag it from our hotbar into the ammo, but you can just drag it from the crafting UI. So this is just a creative mode thing. The in-game menu, of course, you are going to have your own inventory, but it's going to be a lot different than this, because this just gives us access to all of the different mechanics and stuff like that. There's doors and junk like that and a little bit more construction, but we'll deal with those in a bit. There's also different letters that you can end up choosing. I don't know how you change the letters, but either way, the amount of customization that you can end up doing is insane. So this is the block launcher. We've selected diamonds, and I'm sorry, Peacock. You can either shoot the block and use it as a offensive type of mechanic, or if you right-click, we can actually place stuff. So right now we're just using diamond, but if we ended up having a light block, I mean, these are kind of emitting a light source, that's why I'm still staying in the nighttime, right? But you can actually just be going through mines very, very easily, because you can just be shooting all these blocks like left and right all over the place, and places where you're going to end up going, right? It beats dropping down torches in Minecraft any day of the week, doesn't it? Like, seriously, look at that. And even if you're trying to build a house, you can end up just putting the lights on all the everywhere and stuff like that. Of course, you're gonna have to have insane accuracy, but still, not to mention when you're in the single player and you're conquering a dungeon or something like that, let's say you get to a platforming element, you're gonna end up being able to use this to kind of set up a whole bunch of, you know, set up some platforming for yourself that you can end up doing. Kind of the same as shooting arrows, I guess, in Skyrim. And you can, you know, stack them all on top of each other one after another and make it a real crazy complex design or something. Very, very neat that they actually have a mechanic like that. And then here is the laser block. I wanted to show you this just because it's so cool. So this laser block, in the single player, you're actually going to run into this inside dungeons, and it's going to be, you know, we can't take damage right now because we're in creative, but it would normally be killing us. It also digs a little bit, but as you can see, the laser only goes so far. And then it actually, before it actually stops digging, right? There we go. Anyway, sorry about the darkness, folks. I just had to go into the creative commands to swap it over to the daytime only. I wanted to show you the light blocks and stuff like that while it was nighttime, so you can kind of get an idea. And you also get to see that the nighttime is, it's pretty uggles in this game. You know, it's not necessarily that it's too dark, but it really does wash out the color as opposed to the daytime here, right? So these are explosives, which are beautiful. Isn't that great? Like, it makes such a cool crater. And the other thing, too, that I thought would be so neat is, let's say you construct, like, a whole village, right? And then you copy it, you get it all prepared and stuff, and then maybe you want to invite your friends and do some type of PvP with explosives only, destroying all of the village and all the houses and stuff. Or maybe you just want to do some combat with your friends and use, like, the rifle weapons and stuff like that, right? Because in the single player, there's all of these different guns and everything. There's the rifle, there's the pistol, there's the shotgun, which is very, very powerful, close range, but only close range. And I mean, it's just insane. Like, seriously, the amount of different gameplay mechanics that are going on. And I know I just keep saying that, but it's true. Now, here's a door. Let me see if I can throw this on here. Where can I do it? Area is occupied. There we go. So these are how the doors operate in this game, which is very neat because, I mean, it's beautiful for one, but there is also a little bit of redstone. There is switches and stuff like that. Don't know if the player can actually use any levers and buttons and stuff like that and hook them all up just yet. But you know it's going to be a thing eventually, right? Now, the other thing, too, that I want to show you is here's the map, right? Big old square. It's big and beautiful, right? We are actually on a planet right now. And think of this, this right here, this part of the map, think of it as papercraft. So let's just say that this square is the top of the square that we're on, or the cube world. And then this is the next rotation. It's the next side over. And then this would be the left side, the right side, the back side, and the bottom of the cube, right? And we're just on the top right now. Now, we'll talk about this in a minute here, but yeah, there's actually, as you can see, I don't know if it's in game just yet, but there is going to end up being different planets that you can go to. So that's what all of these other things are out in the world. And if we're in creative mode, we can actually fly all the way over there. And the planet is actually already kind of made. There's going to be a whole bunch of different crazy enemies over there. It's going to be very, very deadly. That's a water planet. There's a fire planet. That one's like a forest planet. That's the only one that I actually went all the way over to because it's insane. It takes like so long to get over there. But in the single player and in the main game, I don't know if there's spaceships yet. But the fact is that it is a possibility. Like, they are definitely going to be adding something like that. And last but not least, just because I noticed we're getting close to 20 minutes here, of course, that's going to be a little bit different with editing. But we're gonna go to the edge of the planet here, but I do want to show you this. These are kind of the basic robotic enemies. These are the main bad guys of the game. And then there's going to end up being the rebels that are fighting against the robots in the main story mode. And then there's these weird infectious cubes right here that will normally end up attacking you. And I mean, it's just so cool, the amount of structures that they have. And here we go. Okay, so this is such a great game mechanic. So assuming any of you have played Mario Galaxy, you're gonna think this is so cool. So this is the edge of the world, right? We can actually take a peek off the edge of the world. It is so freaky to do this, especially if you have two players. It is so cool to have one person standing here and the other person standing on the other edge looking down at them. Like, that is just so insane that this game has something like that. And yes, it actually does have some crazy momentum where you can mess around and do stuff like this. Woo! And then just mess around with the vehicle, you know, and just really, really go to town with the physics and stuff. It's insane. And yes, if you're wondering, you can actually dig straight through the planet to the other side. Wouldn't recommend it though, because I think you end up getting stuck in an endless loop. Granted, you could end up probably placing some blocks down that would hopefully end up saving yourself, but the fact of the matter is that you could end up just digging all the way to the other side, and then you start falling through it, and you're gonna ping pong back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I mean, the fact that that even exists is just insane, you know? Like, it's just so crazy that this game has different mechanics like that. And then I also just want to show you this real quick, just because we're in creative, you know, there's different containers and stuff like that that we can end up messing with, and lots of different presets. So if we go and grab this infected wood thing, I don't know. Let's plop that down. There we go. We have an infected tree right now. Which, very cool, you know, that's those blocks that are attacking us. There's our vehicle up there, which, if you end up leaving your vehicle hovering in the air, rip, you're not going to be able to grab it. The map as well is also very, very cool, because you can actually, like, it's very detailed. So in the single player, let's say you find a random dungeon out in the world, it's gonna actually have like a really cool cartoonish picture of it that's really high definition, rather than this, this is just a different type of map, like a more voxel type of map, right? Which just kind of shows the map verbatim and all of the stuff. Now, the other thing too is, I do want to mention that just in closing here, folks, that yes, there is so many different mechanics to the main game and the story mode and stuff where you're actually grinding all the way to the end. You can find loot in dungeons that you may or may not be able to get because your mining gauntlet isn't strong enough to grab it yet, because there is actually gear, not really that much, just armor as far as I know right now, and then there's just the 3 different weapon types and the grenades as well, right? So very, very cool that they have stuff like that. You know, it's crazy. Like, seriously, it's a fantastic game and definitely worth the asking price. Now, as far as normal adventuring is concerned and stuff like that, you can see here, knowledge. So there's 160 recipes in total. You get recipes by killing enemies and then grabbing it off of them randomly. And don't worry, you're not gonna run into duplicate recipes, because let's say you find 2 cooking recipes. Both of them are guaranteed going to unlock a new cooking recipe for you. Now, granted, you could end up getting all of the cooking recipes and then you would run into duplicates, because there's gonna be weapon recipes and stuff like that, and just all sorts of different things, right? Which, that's the thing that's so cool about it. Does this armor, by the way, does it actually change our jump force? No, I think it's just the kinetic, thermal, and toxic resistances. I don't know, but either way, there's so many different mechanics. And the first dungeon that I ended up coming across, which of course we'll see that when we start a Let's Play series of this game, is it had a bunch of lasers you had to dodge. Then it had a section where you were fighting enemies. Then it had a platforming section. Then it had a fight like tons and tons of enemies section. And then you ended up coming all the way back out where the dungeon ended up starting. So it had a little bit of Skyrim aspect in that regard, where you would end up going into the dungeon and ending up right where you left off, but you end up opening like a critical, like a doorway that ends up giving you a shortcut, you know? And it's just so many different mechanics of this game that just scream, oh man, this is awesome. So I'm very, very excited to present this video to all of you. Hopefully give you enough of a taste of the basic game mechanics and the building and stuff like that to let you know that, yes, these devs are doing a fantastic job, you know? I kept track of this game for a very long time, back when it was a Kickstarter, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to donate and start the Kickstarter or anything like that, because of this day and age. You know, there's so many game developers out there that just do it and never finish the project. These guys are doing it. You know, you're not gonna regret the purchase for what the game is right now, let alone what it's going to end up becoming, you know? And that's the biggest thing too, is the fact that we can still play this game with friends. Thanks so much for watching though, folks. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like. Very much would appreciate it. And yeah, I'm gonna start a Let's Play series, which will kind of, in the main series, we're gonna kind of show off some of the more single player story driven mechanics that I didn't show you today, because today I just wanted to kind of show you all the gameplay and stuff like that. I'm sure I ended up missing tons and tons of stuff, but you can explore that for yourself. Links will be in the description for everything. Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.